Well, that's it, everyone. Bull market over. Go ahead and sell your bags. Go to run for the hills. Crypto has never, ever fallen back in a bull market and sustained and rallied afterwards. So you might as well go ahead and get out while you can. Those are the words of a lot of bears on Twitter today. Do I agree with them? Does T. Shroom agree with them? Does our special guest Caleb Franzen agree with them? Well, I guess you got to watch the entire episode and find out. This is the Investing Bros. T. Shroom, roll that intro.
Here we are.
What's going on, everyone? It's a shame that the day that our new hats come in, the bull market is over. T-shirt.
Yes.
What's the timing of that? You know. Oh, by the way, speaking of a guy not wearing a hat because he has the hair of a Greek god, Caleb Franzen is here with us. Caleb, how are you feeling? Did you sell your bags yet? Are you out completely?
I have a massive net short position. No, I'm totally kidding. Where's my hat, by the way? Can we get one of those shipped to Romania or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It on the tracking the tracking ID says it's in Bucharest and it's en route to you. So
okay, perfect.
They have to deliver it through rickshaw. So it's going to be a couple more days probably.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Gas fees too, you know.
Yep. Indeed, the gas fees. Well, we've seen a little bit of a pullback, haven't we here, bros? How are we feeling about it? How are we feeling?
Oh, we're gonna get into that nice today. We're gonna get into all the juicy details. I got a lot of takes. I know you guys are gonna have a lot of takes as well. Before we get there, we do have to get our quote of the day. You know, it's been a rough day for Bitcoin holders today, so we need to get their spirits lifted. T-shirt. Do you have something to encourage us?
Of course.
What's our quote?
Again, of course. Another one, this one from Seneca. Yesterday we had Epictetus. Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. This one's a little bit controversial, a little bit a little funkydelic, you might say, but I think it's a good perspective for today.
What do you think about that quote, Caleb? I don't know what I think about that one.
I like it just because it represents the importance and the gratitude of each day and the situations that we find ourselves in. I forget who I was talking with recently. I think it was one of my friends here in Bucharest, and we were like, "Yeah, shit could be a lot worse." You know, it's like, let's be grateful for what we do have, and yeah,
absolutely. There's bananas on the shelves, you know, and more than likely you got a local library that's functioning, right? Couldn't say that 400 years ago.
Do you remember like 15 years ago, speaking of bananas, this is very off topic from crypto, guys. We are going to talk crypto today, we promise. Do you remember like 16 years ago, something like that, there was that huge scare in the news that bananas were going extinct? That it was like within the next 10 years, bananas would no longer exist.
No.
It scared the crap out of our family. We loved bananas. You know, we fell for the FUD. We bought all the bananas we could. We're like, get them while they're hot. Or, you know, you don't want to eat. Unless you're eating a sundae, maybe the hot bananas over the ice cream. Either way, I just thought that was funny. At one point, you know, when we're speaking of FUD, we're going to be dispelling some FUD today, everybody, in case you didn't know. I'm just reminded of 15 years ago, we had to dispel the banana FUD that took the world by storm. Clearly not your guys' neighborhood. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just Brandon, Florida. I don't know. Well,
hold on
let's go ahead. Wait, are you looking it up?
You guys can take a screenshot of this. We won't linger on it anymore. If we did, it would be totally bananas. But the most common variety of banana was facing extinction at some point because of a fungus as recently as October 22nd, 2023. Tim, we got to get into the market breakdown here. You ready?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's find out what's happening. Bitcoin, you know, it's crazy. The way you read Twitter makes it seem like this number would have a 0 between the 2 and the period right there. But only down 2.77% in the last 24 hours. I will say I don't think the dip is over, but it's really not that egregious, and people are acting like that number's a lot bigger. Ethereum, let's start here. Normal trade here. Altcoins not really that far down. They've corrected a little bit, but Bitcoin dominance definitely slipping. I'll address that on the charts. We'll get Caleb's take on that as well. Ethereum only down 1.8. Then you get into some of these altcoins. For example, Solana actually positive within the last 24 hours, same as XRP. Dogecoin is probably the strongest in the red, down 3.4, pretty much 3.5%. TON slightly down. Cardano slightly down. Shiba slightly down. Got some more positivity here in AVAX. let's be positive here for a second. What coins are positive? Injective, that is one of the coins in the BROZ portfolio we have talked about for a while. So is SUI. So two of our coins up over 12% in the last 24 hours. Say is up as well. That's also in our portfolio. AIOZ is up here a little bit. I think that was a big loser yesterday. So it's having a positive day after, being down almost 20% in the last 7 days. Maker, Chili's, Aptos, Pith, Akash, Pendle, all having some green days here. Let's take a look at our big losers, though. Not really large numbers right here. Pepe takes the cake, but only down 8%. It could easily do a lot more than that. Neo is down 7%. Dog with Hat is down. Core, Floki, BitTensor. By the way, again, I think BitTensor video, is that coming out tomorrow, T-Shroom?
It's coming out either tomorrow or the day after that, and there's a small chance, the CME futures are actually predicting there's a small chance, I think 2 to 3%, that it may come out Friday. So we'll see. Could be Saturday as well, but we're really, really excited for that one to come out.
The chat is saying, have we talked about Chainlink yet? Username says, did Tim talk about Chainlink? Crypto Meme says, no Link talk yet. There's still time. Oh, we can talk about some Link later on. But we did want to open up with the markets. Now, let's go ahead and throw it over to Caleb. And I'm going to set the stage for everybody because you probably clicked on the video. You saw the thumbnail. Then you see that title. You, of course, if you're active on Twitter, you are seeing bears come out of the woodwork. Some of these Twitter pages I didn't even think still existed a month ago are going nuts today on Twitter. Caleb, you are somebody who, recently you put out a tweet where you changed your mind about a long-term prediction. I think some people misunderstood what your tweet is, but I want to start by letting you know, now that you're a big deal, you're not ever allowed to change your opinion. Once you have made it, that's a rule of the game. You're going to have to learn. Long-term prediction, no take-backsies is ultimately the rules of crypto. But you have some people accusing you now, Caleb, of turning bearish and calling for a bear market. Do you want to address the rumors? Do you want to address the FUD in the room about your Twitter page and your opinion about crypto?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, very, very weird pushback that I've received just here in the last few days. Things have obviously changed. We've been doing these shows now regularly on Wednesdays for the past 3 or 4 weeks. And I've been bullish the past 3 or 4 weeks. And certainly the market has gone in the other direction. And I think that's totally fine. Things have changed. That's okay. And so as I look at things right now, first of all, the entire time I was bullish, I kept saying the max downside I'm willing to consider right now is going back to the short-term holder realized price. And that was anywhere from 55,000 to last week, 57, 58K. Today it's at 59K. So I've been open to downside, but my bias has been bullish, 100%. And so now that we've seen some of these geopolitical things take place, first of all, I am not a geopolitical strategist. I will not pretend to be a geopolitical strategist. But now that some of those dynamics have come into the market, we've seen that risk-off behavior come into the crypto market. I'm certainly navigating this in a much more defensive way. In my trading portfolio, I've been extremely selective about the positions I've taken. Usually I operate with a stop loss between 3 and 5%. I've dropped that down to about 1 to 3%, and I'm taking much smaller positions. So if I'm getting stopped out, and I've certainly been stopped out plenty of times over the course of the past 2 weeks, the punishment is minimal and the size is much smaller. So I'm totally fine there. So am I bearish right now? A lot of people are asking me this on Twitter because I sound more defensive. And so naturally, if I sound more defensive, it seems like I'm moving in the bearish direction. I'm not bearish right now. I just bought more Bitcoin before going on this call. You know what I mean? So
there we go.
But at the same time, I am 100% defensive. And it's like, okay, so I want to have my defense on the field. And I also know that I want to buy more Bitcoin. It's like, both of those statements can be true. I was on a show. Last thing I'll say, I was on a show, a TradFi show in July of 2022. And I was saying it is okay to simultaneously think that asset prices are going lower and still be increasing your exposure to those same risk assets. And at the time, one of the things that I was talking about was the fact that both Google and Amazon were down roughly 50% from their all-time highs. And I was saying these are great companies that are objectively on sale. I don't know if it's going to take 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years for them to make new all-time highs. But for them to make new all-time highs, they're going to need to gain roughly 100%. And so if that takes 4 years, that's an annualized return of 21%. That's an amazing annualized return in the traditional markets. And so I feel something very similar right now about the rest of the crypto markets. Like Bitcoin is on sale. I want to buy more. Could it go on sale even further? Yes. And I will buy more back then too. Thankfully, hopefully everyone on this call and the people who are watching all have income. And if we have income and if we have savings, my general plan is to continue to buy risk assets.
Yeah. Love it.
I think you're absolutely right. It's also one of those things that everyone needs to realize, depending on what time frame you're looking at. You can be bearish in a short term and bullish a long term at the same exact time. That happens all the time. We show the charts every single day. I might show you a chart that on the 1 hour chart, it's telling you, man, you need to buy right now because everything is flashing oversold. But then the 4 hour is saying everything's a little overextended and still needs to crash. How is that possible? Well, guess what, everybody? Crypto markets, any stock market, does not move in a straight line. Never in the history of charts do you see one straight line, nothing but green candles with no red ones in between on a bull market. Same with the bear market. You never see nothing but red candles with no green. There's volatility in the markets. And one of the things, if anyone here is new to investing in crypto, strap on in and embrace the word volatility. I know in the stock world and Forex world, that's not something you really want to see. But in crypto, that is a normal Tuesday afternoon to see some pretty crazy volatility. And that's exactly what we've been seeing here recently. T-shirt, go ahead and share my screen. Let's just do very quick TA here and talk about some levels. Caleb even mentioned them here. There's this formation in play right now that broke down this morning. I put it first in our trading group for all of our traders in the VIP group. You guys got to see this. I then a couple of hours later put it over on Twitter. This formation right now with a flat bottom of support but falling resistance traditionally breaks to the downside, and you take the opening of that triangle, you move it over to your breakout spot, and this right now would give us a price that Caleb referenced down here towards $56,000. It says $55,900. Let's just go ahead and call that $56,000. I'm going to show you some confluence on that. This is something you absolutely should be keeping your eyes on. Now, notice we are retracing. We had a little bit of a rally here over the last 3 hours or so, but where do we reject? Where do we have this very bearish candle with a long wick above it and a small candle body coming right back to where we had just had some strong support around 61,800. That's a very bearish move on the 1 hour chart. I want to preface this, guys. I'm showing you the 1 hour chart. This chart is good for telling you where price action should go, probably for the next 12 to 24 hours at the greatest. Does not tell you, this chart will not give you information about what the next 2 weeks looks like, about what the next 6 months looks like, definitely not what the next year looks like, just what the next 12 to 24 hours should look like, and it's very bearish. I pull up ALGO. You guys know we are big proponents of ALGO. They're a partner with the channel. We have a take profit suggestion coming in as high as 59,500, give or take, and as low down here at 57. That's not quite down all the way to our 55, but when you come out to a broader timeline that we do see it's coming in here, what this tells me on the 4 hour chart, we are seeing a price prediction down matching that 55,900, that $56,000. This tells me I don't think we're going to see this in the next 12 hours. I could be wrong. We could speed up, but don't be surprised to see price hesitate right up here. And then within the next 24 to 48 hours, maybe even 72, now we're talking about this pullback back down towards 55.6. Now, this is really good for the 4 hour chart. But again, we're talking about maybe 48 to 72 hours at the most is what 4 hours telling you. We're also seeing this confluence come in now on the daily chart where we have not touched our green rising cloud of support for a very, very long time. We also have our take profit levels coming in as high as 58.5, as low as 54.3. But of course, that keeps in that $55,000 to $56,000 level we have addressed here for a while. So we see the 4 hour and the daily chart actually finding some confluence on this level. And then just to cap it off with kicks and giggles, we go over to our liquidations chart that I have to upload and go to the 1 month chart. So give me just a second, guys. There we go. Take a look where our heaviest liquidations are beneath us. They bring us down where? Oh, would you look at that? 55,800, barely below that $56,000 level. So we're seeing a lot of confluence in here talking about a heavy need for a little bit lower price action to happen in Bitcoin, at least coming down to 56. I can't tell you with 100% certainty that we stop there and we don't go lower. You guys know we've addressed the potential of the order block down here at 50,000, the former resistance level and golden pocket here at 48,000. These are absolutely things in play. But for right now, a lot of signs point to at least a short-term major bounce around 55 to 56,000. And I want to make sure you guys understand this. Let's pretend that price action happens. Let's just draw a fictitious line here. We come down, we hit the 55, 56, and then we bounce to the upside. Let's pretend that was the chart. Let me turn off the noise here and zoom out for you guys. Does that look like a bearish chart of price action to you, Caleb or T-Shroom? Feel free to answer.
No.
Nope.
No. The truth is, let's pretend we go lower. Let's say we hit my 48. Does that look like a bearish chart on the long term to you guys?
You know my reaction to that?
Thank you, T-Shroom. Thank you very much. Yeah, long story short here, guys, it is so far away from time to be scared. And I want to kind of let's deal with some elephants in the room here, T-Shroom and Caleb. You know, as I mentioned earlier, if you're traveling on X today, and I mean no disrespect to this by anyone who might be watching this show, I just have noticed there are several accounts on Twitter who months ago were telling you to sell, 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 sell. Guys, there's no way we break above 32,000, then we break above 30,000. There's no way we get above 40, then we get above 40. There's no way we break that 48. Oh, look, we rejected at 48. We're coming. There's no way we hit a new all-time. Set your stop losses for 70K. There's no way we. And all of a sudden, they got kind of quiet. They got quiet for about a month or so. And now today, they're coming back out of the woodwork, telling you not to listen to these moon boys who do want to do nothing but pump their own bags and wreck you. Can we just address the elephant in the room? Have their suggestions to sell and put stop losses at these levels for the last 4 or 5 months not been wrecking people themselves? Is that am I wrong on that, Caleb and T-Shroom?
No, I think you're right on. Tim.
That was exactly one of my pushbacks today, because someone was calling me out. Weren't you just bullish 2 weeks ago? Now you're sounding outright bearish. I said, first of all, I'm not bearish. When did I say I'm bearish? And second of all, who would you rather be listening to? The same people who, because look, this was my post essentially. The people who were bearish above 70,000 were the same people who were bearish on the entire rally from 15,000 to 73,000.
Mm-hmm.
So those people have been wrong for 15 plus months, and they're right for the past 3 weeks. So, okay, they've been right for the past 3 weeks. I'm not going to tell them that they've been wrong the past 3 weeks. Clearly, I've been wrong, right? But it's like, it goes back to the saying, it's like a broken clock is right twice a day. So they have a massive track record of being incorrect in the face of some of the most bullish price action we've seen in 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. And now they want to try to make it sound like I told you so. Well, they were, like you said, they were wrong. They were wrong above 30,000. They were wrong about 40. They were wrong about 50. They were wrong about 60.
Yeah. Oh, and I, the reason I'm bringing this up, I want to make sure people understand. I'm not saying this to be like, oh, these people are terrible and they're coming out of the woodwork and they're trying to say that we're wrong. I'm not saying that. But my point here is by saying, guys, in case no one has told you this, there's not a single human on this planet that knows with 100% certainty where. Well, I had a little stutter right there. 100% certainty where Bitcoin price is going. Nobody knows exactly where the levels of high resistance or support are going to be in. We have suspicions based off of past price action, based off of technical analysis, which studies the psychology of how markets move. But I want to make sure, I'm actually saying this more to say, give people more grace than criticism. But I do want to point out hypocrisy where hypocrisy is, because they tell you do not listen to people that are bullish right now because they will wreck your money, despite the fact that they've been wrecking their audience since 15K by telling them to continually short and not long the market. And Bitcoin did go to an all-time high. And I'm not going to sit here and ring the bell of investing pros saying that we're perfect and we do everything correctly, but we have been talking very heavily now about larger pullbacks coming during a bull market. And just because we are down right now, just because we dropped slightly below $60,000 does not mean that the bear market is back in play. So let's just go ahead and get that out of the way and address maybe some of the recent FUD. Here's where I want to get your guys' takes on what's happening here. But another argument I've heard increased over the last week and some change now, especially, definitely over the weekend, because of the attacks from Iran to Israel. Caleb, I haven't had you on the show since this has happened. People are throwing out the term black swan event in reference to the war situation going on in the Middle East. And I want to make sure people also understand, we're going to talk about this from a price action perspective. Obviously, there are millions of people's lives who are being affected by it. We're very sympathetic, and our prayers go out to everybody, all the innocent lives who had no choice in this matter, who are being affected by the brains of a lot of elitists who are just arguing over money and other stupid situations. We are brokenhearted for the people of Israel, Palestine, Iran, yada, yada, yada. The governments, you can say something different, but my point I want to get into here is this a black swan event? Do people know what the black swan event word actually means? Caleb, I'm taking by your response. You and I are probably on the same boat. Elaborate for everybody about your thoughts here.
Oh man, I was still doing some Twitter Spaces in the second half of last year, and in October when Israel initially got attacked, I remember. I mean, I got invited to a few spaces. I was on there, and the same people who were bearish throughout the entire first half of 2023 were saying that this was the new catalyst to pull the markets lower. That inflation was going to not only reaccelerate but go out of control. We were going to see oil above 120. We were going to see a lot of pressure on the economy, the labor market, everything, and massive geopolitical outbreak. And what do we see after October 7th? Obviously, we saw for basically 3 weeks after that, we saw a lot of pressure in traditional markets. The stock market made not new lows, but it was trending lower. And then we just went on one of the largest 6-month rallies in U.S. stock market history. Mm-hmm. And so again, it's like, first of all, it's not a black swan because when it happened in October, everyone was talking about it, saying that it was going to lead to more geopolitical tensions. Mm-hmm. And they were right about that. 6 months later, it did create more geopolitical tensions. But during those 6 months where it did create more geopolitical tensions, are asset prices not much higher than they were 6 months ago? So again, it's like, it's certainly not a black swan. And the justification for it to be a bearish catalyst 6 months ago certainly did not work out.
Yeah. I want to look up the actual definition of a black swan event before we go too much further. Tisha, maybe you can find one. I'm looking, but I want to find a short definition. I found a whole article about describing it, but I just want a short definition. COVID was a black swan event, everybody. Why was it a black swan event? Because one day it was not affecting our lives, at least here in the U.S. Let's talk about the U.S. for a while. It was not affecting our lives in the U.S. whatsoever, and the very next day, boom, it had a major impact. It came pretty much from nowhere. Had people heard of this weird disease that was in Asia? Yeah, a lot of us had heard about it, but we had no thoughts it was coming to the United States. Our minds were changed. It shut down our country in a way that no one could have prepared for. An unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected of a situation as potentially severe consequences. That is the definition of what COVID was. That would be the definition probably if we were trading back during World War II. If you're in America and we get attacked by Japan in Pearl Harbor, that's a black swan event. Back on September 11th, 2001, we're just going about our normal business. Everything's normal. And then the Twin Towers are attacked in a terrorist event. That's a black swan event. Nobody saw those coming. Who did not see Iran and Israel conflict coming now for a while? Who has not been aware of the tensions in the Middle East for hundreds of years? This is not a black swan event. I want to make sure people understand. It's not anyone you hear saying this is a black swan event. They're lying to you. It's not a black swan event. That's not what they are. And as Caleb even mentioned, we've seen these tensions. We've seen things go up. Guys, are we not aware that there's been a war going on now? I can't remember the exact start date, but it's back in 2022. Ukraine and Russia are at war. Now, we dipped after that, but that's because you're already in bear market. Has the markets not gone explosive all while we have a war going on between Russia and Ukraine? The answer is yes. Anyone who is out here trying to flood the crypto markets due to war, I want to specify this, guys. I'm not trying to belittle the millions of lives of people who will be lost and have crazy, terrible lives going on right now. I am so heartbroken for them, and my heart goes out to them. But from a side of money and the markets, this is not a black swan event. This is not even something long-term bearish. You want to know what it actually is, and I think I said this the other day. This is a convenient excuse for a market that, in my opinion, rallied too high, too fast, to have a normal bull market cool off. Come on back here, T-shirt, to my screen, and we'll do this again. People have been watching Investing Bros for a long time. You guys have seen me talk about this before, but anyone who might be new here, so glad you chose Investing Bros today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. But let's take a look at bull markets historically. Let's just go back to the 2019 bull market that went through 2019, 2020, and of course into 2021. Massive rally here. Bitcoin goes crazy. In fact, let me just show you the numbers. I haven't done this in a while, but from the bottom back here at 3,100, we rallied on Bitcoin a whopping 341% in a couple of months, right? Well, even before COVID came into play, I'm not going to address COVID. Even before COVID was a thing, Bitcoin decided to cool off 52%. I'm not predicting a 52% cool off. I'm just showing you historically, Bitcoin in bull markets pulls back. But then you could say, all right, what about post-COVID? We get out of COVID and we keep going. Well, we have a couple of pullbacks here during the bull market. We have a nice 22% pullback here in August of 2020. Then we have our nice explosive rallies. I'm not going to show you. That one's another 21. But look at this one. We rallied to new all-time highs here in January of 2021. How far does Bitcoin pull back? Oh, would you look at that? 31%. All right, well, then you keep going further. We hit new highs. We go up above $65,000. Elon Musk says some not so favorable things about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin cools off 55%. Does that mean the Bitcoin bull market is over? No, we would go on to set a brand new high, not very much higher, only went to 69K, but you get my point. Just because you see pullbacks in Bitcoin does not mean the bull market's over. I'm not going to show you all the percentages, but look at these candles, guys. This is the bull market that started back in 2015, 30% pull, 40% pullback, 40% pullback, 30% pullback, 30% pullback, 40% pullback. Several large pullbacks happened in the bull market, and every single one of them, it's not like people just woke up and for no reason whatsoever, the price starts dropping and drops 40%. Every single one of these situations had something in the news that said, uh-oh, Bitcoin's overextended. Here's something really bad. Sell your Bitcoin. Bitcoin bull market over. The market corrects. The weekend gets shuffled out. The whales and smart traders come in and buy the dip, and then the bull market takes off again. And now we're acting after seeing this happen for the last 15 years, 14 years, I guess, theoretically speaking, but 14, 15 years of Bitcoin. Are people surprised? How are people still falling for the same fake situation where they ignore the fact that the price of Bitcoin has been exploding here during the bull market, hitting a new all-time high before the halving, something Bitcoin's never done before. It's overextended, and then something that has no history of being bearish happens, and a couple of large accounts and a couple of large greedy billionaires who want to steal your Bitcoin say, uh-oh, guys, we're in trouble. And people are falling for it. They're labeling it with Black Swan event. They're saying Bitcoin bull market over. And I'm watching people that I love and care about freak out, text me, call me, asking me, Tim, should I be selling all of my Bitcoin right now? It's the same trap, the same lie, the same FUD, bull market after bull market after bull market. And unfortunately, there's people that I think know way better than to FUD people out who are playing into this FUD as well, telling people there very much might be a massive crash coming to Bitcoin. When in reality, you zoom out and you look at everything and you're like, we are still sitting in such a bullish situation. It's not even funny. We could pull back below 48. Guys, we could pull back to 32. I don't think we will. We could pull back to 32K and still be extremely bullish compared to past bear markets. I was a long win there, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Agree, disagree. T-Shim, I'll start with you. You haven't gotten to talk here for a second. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, so it's not a black swan, right? I definitely wouldn't say it's a black swan because of the first part of the definition. The second part of the definition fits, right? But the first part doesn't. And if the whole definition doesn't fit, it doesn't ship. It was not unpredictable. We literally are getting news updates from mainstream media daily that there was escalations, and what Israel had locked down all of its embassies, and U.S. was mobilizing assets to the region. Is that unpredictability? No, that's every single media outlet covering it step by step, right? So I think that we're pretty good on this. I think that folks that are still convinced it's a black swan are probably lost causes at this point. Hopefully it's no bros. If you have any more questions, jump into the Discord. We can talk about it more. If you're adamantly and convinced of this, that it's a black swan. But I want to, one thing that is concerning to me, and I think is concerning a lot of, would-be buyers and that are maybe flipping as sellers in this season, this pullback, is the GBTC outflows and in general, the 3 days in a row of ETF outflows. That's where I think a lot of fear is coming from as well. And I do think that weakness in those ETF inflows and strength in the outflows is starting to be a little bit more important than the escalations. I think the escalations were extremely important over the weekend and into Monday and Tuesday. But I think now it's these ETF outflows 3 days in a row. We've had them before, right? It's not the first time we've had multiple days of outflows in a row of net outflows, but I think that is probably what is causing more of the bearishness now that we're in Wednesday, moving into Thursday, more so than the quote unquote gray swan event. Now, maybe you could classify it as a gray swan, some kind of shades of gray, but where does it stop, right? So that's my thought. Is I think that the market is going to continue to digest these escalations in the Middle East. If the escalations continue, I think the market probably reprices to the downside. But I think that if things stay the same, then eyes turn back to the most important effect on the supply and demand of availability of Bitcoin, and that is the inflows and outflows of the ETFs. The Hong Kong ETFs, I think at this point, are so small, and they're not going to go live until the end of the month, that they are not in main focus for the markets.
Caleb, do you want to add to that? Have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, just generally speaking, I think people are feeling so negative right now about the market because we can focus on Bitcoin and what's happening in that market. And thankfully, that's my biggest position, both in short-term trading accounts and in long-term accounts across all portfolios. Nice. But when we look at altcoins, I did a post about this earlier today as well, and now it's even worse. But pretty much everything was down anywhere from 40 to 55% from their recent cycle highs. So again, it's like, even if you're a trader and you've been stopped out and you find new opportunities, you take new positions, you get stopped out again, you've taken some good amount of punishment on the way down. If you've just been spot and chill, again, and you're primarily in altcoins, your portfolio is down at least 40%. And that's brutal. If you're using leverage, you got massively liquidated several times, and you've probably given back almost all of the bull market gains and then some. So it makes sense why sentiment is so bad. Despite the fact that, Bitcoin is only down like 15% from its cycle highs. And so, Tim, I love what you said about the fact that, this quote unquote volatility or this correction is consistent with historical bull market behavior, because it is. Corrections are normal. There's one thing I actually did want to share too, just on this topic about geopolitics. Oh no, you know what I did? I forgot to pause the video. Anyways, here it is. Okay, I got it. So the compound, I watch these guys. I've been watching them like religiously, probably for like the past 7 or 8 years. And so they did something pretty interesting here, looking at S&P 500 returns after major geopolitical events. Oh, wow. So they looked at 1-year returns after the geopolitical event took place. It's tracking 252 trading days. That comes out to 1 calendar year. And the median return is 13%. In that first year. So certainly there are cases like Yom Kippur, Germany-France invasion, 9/11, the Reagan shooting, the Ukraine invasion from 2022, where returns can be in that bottom half. But when we look at median returns, they're pretty damn good. So, these types of events, this is why I don't pay any attention really to geopolitics. I'm not going to call myself a geopolitical expert or pretend to be one, because it doesn't really have too substantial of an impact on market dynamics. And, markets are multivariate. They're impacted by so many different things. So even these cases here, like for example, the Ukraine invasion, certainly that Ukraine invasion was a headwind for the markets in February of 2022. But what else was a headwind during 2022? How about the fastest rate hike cycle in modern U.S. history, right? So Clearly there are other things at play that are impacting these returns beyond geopolitics, right? So when we're seeing good returns up here, those good returns aren't happening because of geopolitical dynamics. But again, bull markets climb a wall of worry. I think that's super important to highlight, because again, when a negative news catalyst comes out, or the market all of a sudden needs to react to negative news, we take the elevator down and then the escalator back up, right? So I just think that's really important as a whole.
Man, that's a great quote. A new quote of the day. Thank you, Caleb. Bull markets climb a wall of worry. That's beautiful.
Oh yeah. That's a huge one. That's a huge one.
Yeah, I see a lot of people here in chat. We got some new names in here, not used to these names, telling everyone, hey, sell now, don't listen to these guys. Here's the thing. I want to make sure people understand. We are not here giving you financial advice. We're here helping you look at the markets through our eyes. If you agree with us, make sure it's your decision. If you're scared right now and you really are fearful, if you're struggling to put food on the table for your family, if you're struggling to make your next mortgage payment, hey, sell crypto and walk away. But here's the deal. If you're going to sell, I do urge you, have your strategy for buying back in locked and loaded, and don't get nuts with it. Again, this is where I'm seeing these accounts. I brought it up, and I'm not trying to disrespect them, but I just want people to remember, when you look at some of these accounts telling you, oh, Bitcoin's about to go massively to the downside, new lows incoming, we've been telling you the bulls are going to get wrecked. They're also the people that told you to put your stop losses at 32K and then at 50K and then at 70K. They're the people that tell you to continue to short the market, and they've been wrecking you for a long time. And now, just because Bitcoin is down 18% from the all-time high, all of a sudden they feel confident about calling massive downside, when in reality we're watching the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index plummet, despite the fact that if we backed up and thought through the brains of people back in February of this year, we would be ecstatic seeing $59,000 attached to the price of Bitcoin. You got to zoom out and think about this logically. Let's take up some of the things T-Shroom said. Massive outflows on ETF, but we're only at 60K. War is happening in Israel, and everyone's assuming that it's going to continue to escalate, and yet we're only at 60K. If we're crashing to brand new lows, all of the big hitting news stories are in our face. And maybe some of you guys are waiting to see what's next, but I'm telling you right now, billionaires who like their wealth and have seen how the world operates, they sell before all the bad news comes. They see it coming, they anticipate it, and they sell. And right now, I cannot even begin to tell you how bullish it is that despite all of the terrible news, inflation is not going down. Israel is getting new enemies. ETFs have outflows happening, and we're still at 60K. Just think about this critically, everybody. That speaks volumes to how strong this bullish rally really is. It speaks volume as to what the real intentions are right now in the crypto space. Are we done moving down? No. I already told you guys in this video earlier, 55, 56K looks likely. There's still an outside chance of 48. And the truth is, I could be wrong. I don't think it's going to happen. But even though we're to 32, all of these scenarios still spell a very good and long bull market for Bitcoin. Don't listen to someone who's trying to pump fear into you when they've been wrong now for the last 6 months of their predictions. All of a sudden, just because they're down 20%, that does not make them right. Think about it critically. We're only at $60,000. That is not, to me, spelling the doom and gloom of Bitcoin's future. It actually tells me how bright the future is, that despite all these hard-hitting, heavy FUD stories, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, bearish stories come, and we're only at 60K. Just think about it critically, everybody, and then make your own decision. Do you want to sell? This is how the markets work. They convince you. They convince you at the best times to buy. As we're getting close to bottoms, they will pump the news with nothing but FUD articles and fear, because they want you, the suckers, to sell all of your crypto to the whales and to the billionaires like BlackRock so that they can buy these dips, and then they make all the money while you're left out in the cold because you were convinced to sell at 60K rather than looking for the next great buy spot to add to your already great bag of Bitcoin. This is just how markets work. It's how it's worked in the past on Bitcoin. If you go back 100 years, it's how it has worked in the stock market. It's how it's worked since the beginning of mankind, because mankind always will have one person who wants to screw the other person out of it. It'll always have somebody that has a lot of money who wants more money, who says, let me take advantage of the poor people who are dumber than me. They don't know how money works. I'll lie to them. I'll steal from them. I'll cheat them. I'll convince them to give me all of their wealth, and they won't even know what happened. This is mankind's history. Please don't fall for it again.
Absolutely. Tim, I've got an excellent chart to pull up. This is the MVRV Z score. I want to pull that up in here in just a second, but this episode is brought to you by Lux Algo. Enhance your trading experience with Lux Algo. They've got all kinds of awesome indicators. Tim and I and Caleb today, we've been talking a lot about kind of a zoomed out picture, but whenever we go live, we're usually showing our screens and showing our charts, and we always use Lux Algo to help us trade these crazy volatile markets and make a little bit of profit along the way. Lux Algo's link is in the description of this video, where you can get access to those premium indicators for TradingView. Now, take a look here at this from lookintobitcoin.com. This is Bitcoin's MVRV Z score. And I heard that it was actually interesting about, a little cut off. Yeah, everything's a little cut off here. But let me see how I can maybe make some changes to this screen. There we go. All right.
There you go. Nice.
Adapt and overcome. Here we're doing it here. So the Z score it's volatile as well, right? Essentially, when it gets up into this pink box, that's when historically Bitcoin has actually topped out. We covered this on the 9 a.m. stream this morning. Essentially, we are miles from that, right? There's on the y-axis here, you can see it goes 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We're barely tapping that 3 line here for the Z score. Mm-hmm. The bear market is marked by this green box down here at the bottom, right? That is no longer in the conversation. That was when the optimal time was to accumulate Bitcoin, right? Now it's time to hold Bitcoin, to hodl, right? Once we get up into this red zone, that is where you start to ask the question, have we topped out? We have not topped out, folks. That we're miles from it, according to this extremely reliable indicator. You might be sitting there like, well, what is it, T-Shroom? What is it, though? How can it be used? The MVRV-Z score has historically been very effective in identifying periods where market volume is moving unusually high above realized value. These periods are highlighted by the Z-score, that orange line. Entering the pink box and indicating the top of the market cycles, it has been able to predict the market high of each cycle within 2 weeks. So it's not only reliable, it's also highly, highly accurate to a resolution of 2 weeks. So really, I mean, you'll be tuning into the Investing Bros probably around this time next year, and we will seriously be asking the question, have we topped out? Because it'll be a valid question to ask. Right now, if you look back historically, in this 2 to 4 zone, there is all kinds of crazy volatility that absolutely shook out weak hands, right? Don't be those weak hands that get shook out in these early periods of the hodling moment, right? Play that left curve and just do what everybody else is doing and hodl. Do what the billionaires are doing and hodl. This is not a bad time to go with the herd, as long as the herd you're going with is the hodl herd, right? So speaking of which, we've got a couple of clips that I want to jump into and get you all's reaction. The first one is actually, well, yeah, we'll do the first one. This is a new advertisement from BlackRock. Check it out.
Buzz about spot Bitcoin ETFs. But what are they? Let's start with what is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the most widely adopted digital asset in the world. It is a digital currency that operates on a decentralized network, meaning it is not controlled by any central authority. Bitcoin functions through computers known as nodes, employing transactions that are meticulously recorded in a publicly accessible ledger called the blockchain. This innovative structure ensures transparency and security in the verification and recording of Bitcoin transactions. While it was created as a form of internet-native money...
All right, so ultimately, huge circulation. They're calling Bitcoin the most widely adopted digital asset in the world. That's just accurate, right? Yep. Do you all think that this is the timing of this? This is a new release. Do you think that this is BlackRock trying to signal to the market, hey, look, everything's okay, get back in, we still believe in it, or is this something else?
I'll take it. I think this is what all of us assumed was coming when BlackRock first had their ETF application and the approval came through. It's like, okay, now we're going to have the world's largest asset manager basically pitching Bitcoin to potential clients and existing clients and basically becoming part of the vocal marketing of Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, unlike Ethereum, unlike Solana, unlike Avalanche, unlike Atom, unlike Cardano, doesn't have a marketing team. It doesn't have a CEO. It doesn't have a team of engineers. It's just purely decentralized, right? We don't even know who the founder and the creator is. So all of us are advocates and marketers in a weird way for Bitcoin in the network. And so as soon as BlackRock gets involved and these other firms are getting involved, not only are they posting these types of videos onto like public social media, but they're having these conversations one-on-one with institutional clients that we're not going to be privy to ever, but basically having these conversations, going a little bit more in depth, having a team of analysts and marketers and directors on that call. I mean, that guy was the director of alternative investments or something. Like, that's almost as high as it's probably going to get there at BlackRock in a lot of different ways. So this is par for the course, and it's, in my opinion, more of a warm up than anything else.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a take here that ultimately these are nothing burgers. The ads are not going to help or dismantle. Ultimately, what the ads can do, they could either be extremely positive or extremely negative. In this case, it's almost like you have a performer on the street who's really entertaining. But I'm going to tell you guys, just watch his hands, watch what he's doing. Is he about to distract you so he can rob you, or is he about to distract you so that he can pull off a magic trick that wows you and makes you think that everything's ridiculous? It's a side thing that they're just trying to entertain. And again, I'm gonna hope to lean towards this is very good, and that people are gonna see these commercials and feel like, man, I this reminds me, I need to be getting into Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been taken off. It does this every couple of years. I need to go ahead and get in now. That's the positive side of it. But I'm not going to lie to people and say because we're running massive ads that doesn't mean that crypto couldn't crash. It could. I think ultimately I'm not going to try to read too far into BlackRock's marketing campaign as being too bullish or too bearish. Ultimately, I'm just going to keep watching what the whales are doing. I'm going to keep watching what the charts are saying. I'm going to keep watching to see what is happening that has nothing to do with that advertisement, because I don't know if that advertisement is trying to distract me from something really good that's about to happen or something really bad is about to happen. I want to watch what's actually happening.
Yeah, I think I side more with Caleb. I don't think that we are the audience. We because if you notice, I cut that clip off short. Why? Because it's just explaining what Bitcoin is at a very rudimentary level. I assume that 98% of the people watching right now already know those things. I cut it off. But the reality is the audience that is created for actually don't, right? They've been sitting in wealth management desks and managing billions of dollars, stressing about it, but they're hyper-focused on something like silicon chips and the companies that they're investing their clients' money in to manufacture those silicon chips. Or they're extremely focused on timber and making sure that they can get every little ounce of margin that they can out of buying and selling timber on the futures exchanges, whatever it is. They don't have time to zoom out and think about the future of money and cryptocurrency, right? That's what those types of messaging pieces from BlackRock are for. Therefore, those money managers that already do a ton day to day, deal with a ton of volume of new information, and it's just a quick injection, quick minute and a half video. Hey, this is what Bitcoin is. It might have a place on your balance sheet. It might not. Look into it. Give us a call over at BlackRock, right? That's exactly what it's for. I don't think it's like a trying to do any kind of 4D chess with the whales in the crypto market. I think that the whales in the crypto market that are just not the audience for this. But I think both are very, very valid takes. Tim and Caleb, I liked it. Now, I've got another clip here for us. This one might be a little bit more fireworks. That one was a snooze fest. But this one is going to be a little bit more of a sizzle wagon. Let's take a look. Let's take a listen.
Bitcoin has outperformed everything, so don't compare it to gold. It's outperformed stocks, real estate, bonds, collectibles. That's because it's a gigantic bubble. No, if you want to own Bitcoin, I don't care. If you want to lose money in Bitcoin, go right ahead. Doesn't bother me, but I'm trying to help give people advice as to what to do with their money. And if
Yeah, he is. So he said it there, and it's not
Right.
something anybody expected him to say, which was that Bitcoin has outperformed everything. It's really, really interesting to hear someone, as Peter Schiff, make such an admission. Let's listen to it again.
Why can't someone have exposure to both?
Yeah, well, first of all, Bitcoin has outperformed everything, so don't compare it to gold. It's outperformed.
Oh, it sounds so sweet. It sounds so sweet. How can you be bearish? How can you be bearish when the king of the Bitcoin bears is coming out and admitting that it's outperformed everything?
I'll say let me take a devil's advocate approach here, though. Let me just give weight to what he's saying, and then tell you guys why I disagree with him. The logic of it's outperformed everything sounds like he's just giving it a compliment, but at the same time, it is something to be aware of. a lot of times when coins have one big run up, we saw this happen with Solana, for example. You start to ask the question, how much further can it go? So where his brain is coming from saying Bitcoin's already had its run, look at other things. It's not terrible financial advice. It's just where he's getting it completely wrong is he's treating Bitcoin like any old asset. He's treating Bitcoin like it's just some new coin of the week, whereas Bitcoin is already revolutionizing the wealth of this planet, and it's just getting started. Peter Schiff's just too blind to see that, but I don't want to just take everything he said there and throw it out like he's a complete idiot, because he's giving some good advice when he says sometimes when things have a big run up early, you want to look at other things to invest in that'll have better returns. He's just wrong about this particular situation.
What do you got, Caleb? You think he's swinging for the fences here? He's onto something?
I would even disagree with that assessment. History shows us you want to buy stocks and asset prices that are trending. The best time to buy stocks in terms of forward returns is when they just hit new all-time highs. So stocks are hitting new all-time highs. Data shows us that the forward one-year returns are arguably the strongest during that one-year period after they just hit new all-time highs. So
fair.
You don't want to say, okay, this asset is now hitting new all-time highs. Let me go shop for all the junk that hasn't participated in the market rally for the past 10 months because now it's going to play catch-up. History shows us that's not a good strategy to play. And so the funny thing is, like, we talked at the beginning of this show about how the people who have been bearish for the past 6, 12, 15 months are now starting to take victory laps. Dude, Peter Schiff has been wrong on Bitcoin for 8 years. I was listening to him about Bitcoin 8 years ago, and that was one of the big reasons why I used to be a massive skeptic and critic. And I had to do a full 180 and study this thing on my own and leave him in the dust on this. And thank God I didn't stick with gold, because if I was sticking with gold and it was trading around 1,700 at the time, it's like, okay, yeah, great. I've had a solid little return, but it pales in comparison to what I've been able to generate in Bitcoin. And it's just like the admission of the fact that it's outperformed everything else. And then somehow, some way, he flips that into a negative thing, saying, oh, now all the stuff that hasn't participated needs to catch up. First of all, blatantly false. Second of all, it's an admission that without actually saying it, inherently, he's recognizing he's been extremely wrong. So why the hell would anyone listen to him now?
Yeah, I love it. Well, we've got a bunch more nuts and bolts here to cover. Let's get into it really quickly. The first of which is this beautiful promo that was made by our Factoid elf, we're going to get to the Factoid in just a second. You can take a screenshot of this one and come back to it in a second. But there actually was a great comment here in the chat of this. Mind Poison said, ask Caleb about his rotation from miners into MSTR, please. So Caleb, could you, first of all, I have no idea if you actually commented about this already, but what are your thoughts on that comment there?
Yeah, the trade has been fine. Listen, the rotation into MicroStrategy was based on the fact that MicroStrategy acts as a more direct correlation to Bitcoin. And because I'm bullish on Bitcoin, I want to have something that's going to really mirror and outperform Bitcoin in a bull market. So rotating out of the miners, because I used to be bullish on the miners, in the MicroStrategy has still paid off. It's higher than where it was when I first started that rotation. When we're looking at MSTR relative to something like WGMI, which is the Valkyrie Bitcoin mining ETF, has it certainly come down a lot over the past several days? Yeah, 100%. But again, that's because Bitcoin is under pressure. I expect to see MicroStrategy underperform Bitcoin in an environment where Bitcoin is falling. I just have happened to believe and still believe to this day that the bull market is not over, crypto is not peaked, and so I still want to continue to hold on to this position and build it out. And when I sold those mining stocks, by the way, I'm still sitting in about 50% of the cash that I had sold from that position. So I was allocating back in a MSTR again today. I bought a little bit yesterday. I'm still being very patient here in terms of how I'm DCAing into that trade. And so that's going to make new cycle highs, in my opinion.
I love it.
I think a great case in point stuff we're talking about. Share my screen here real quick. This is MicroStrategy that Caleb's talking about. That chart doesn't look very good, does it? I'm on the 1 hour chart, a lot of blue candles.
Sell.
Lower highs, lower lows. But if I go out to the weekly and I zoom out, that's what he's looking at.
Oh, wow.
It's one of those things. Again, it's all a matter of perspective, everybody. Thank you. We're really getting a work out of that song today. It's all a matter of perspective. Yeah, if you zoom in and you look at things like this, you're missing everything over here and over here. When you zoom out, you're like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. It's not that bad at all. That's where we're sitting right now with crypto. So people running victory laps because they've been right for the last 5 hours when they've been wrong for the last 2 years is not a great look.
Yeah, they're gonna run out of breath, because if you're not running the race for the marathon, you are going to only do well during the sprints, and that's just not how you invest. It's how you trade. But look how that has turned out for the Bears all throughout 2024 and much of 2023. All right, well, we're going to get into the factoid of the day here, brought to you by ALGO, helping you enhance your trading experience with those ALGO premium indicators. Caleb and Tim, during the 1968 presidential election, this candidate campaigned on a promise to end the draft. Was it A, JFK, B, Gerald Ford, C, Dick Nixon, or was it D, Jimmy Carter?
Oh, gosh. 1968.
yeah, exactly.
I'm struggling to remember my U.S. history of who the presidents at that time were. Oh, man. Matt C., can you help? Please, can you phone a friend?
Phone a friend.
Not because Matt C's old, because Matt C knows history, guys. Don't take that the wrong way. That was
because Matt C's old.
I don't think it was JFK.
I don't think so either.
It probably wasn't Nixon. Jimmy Carter is a distant relative of mine.
Really?
Is he?
Yeah.
Have you ever met him?
Okay.
No, I haven't.
He's one of the only presidents I've ever met. Let me see if I can.
Do you have a photo?
I do. Yeah.
Nice.
Let's get the answer real quick, and then I'll go to the photo. Tim, you want to make a final prediction here?
Can you go show it again?
I absolutely can.
He said not Richard Nixon. There's a part of me thinks it might be Richard Nixon, but I could also see Jimmy Carter. I'm going to go with Richard Nixon. It's really going to come down to the years, though. I can't remember that timeline. Richard Nixon would have been. Yeah, that's the timeline. Richard Nixon would have been right in there. I think it's Richard Nixon.
Okay. Gail, what was your final? Was it Jimmy?
No, I would not. I wouldn't, dude. If I'm going down, I'm going down with Tim on this one. So all
right, sweet. We're gonna go down together.
Forget about it.
Dick Nixon for the win.
All right, that was a rough one. That was
absolutely. During the 1968 presidential election, Dick Nixon campaigned on a promise to end the draft. Hopefully, I'm not picking this type of a the factoid elf is not picking this type of a factoid for any reason that we will come to regret here as
so did he get that passed
able-bodied
then? Was
males.
that something that actually happened?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, the draft did end under Nixon. Interesting.
Indeed, moved into an all-volunteer army during his time out of office. Now, here in the United States, if you are an able-bodied male, that draft can flip back on with the flip of a switch. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted at all. So that is going to be the conclusion there of the factoid. We can kind of open it up for any Q&A that there might be from the bros. We do have a couple of super chats. Really quickly, let us know what your questions are. We had a super chat promoting a coin called Red the Mall, ticker Red. I'm going to go ahead and say, again, this is a promotion. We have nothing to do with this. But Red the Mall, it's a very, very small. In fact, the market cap is not even recorded here on CoinGecko. So
there's a 95% chance that was somebody who's just coming in to shill something that is nothing. Thank you for the super chat. But I would say, I'm not going to tell you guys, don't buy Red. Do your research. That's not something that's up and coming and has a bunch of momentum. That's somebody who just goes from chat to chat and posts.
Now, Tim, we have just this whole episode we've talked about nothing but don't be bearish, and now here you are being bearish. Unbelievable. Another super chat here. $2 from Morgan Powell said, "Love this show. Should have way more than 13K subs." Well, Morgan, all you have to do is make 50,000 fake accounts and then have them all follow us. Actually, don't do that because that would totally tank our engagement. Please do not do that.
Unless you have 50,000 computers that you're going to watch the show simultaneously on all 50,000 of those computers.
In which case, do that.
Yeah. YouTube would love that. No, thank you, everybody. Also, I mean, I will say here, we are gaining subscribers so fast, we're no longer able to stop and smell the roses with hitting new 1,000 subscriber mile markers. So we're gonna have to do a celebration. We get to 15K, which at this rate will be next Tuesday. I think a big shout out to, I think that we're putting out some good stuff here. Shout out to Caleb Franzen coming on every Wednesday. Of course, we got people coming in Wednesday to come watch him. Shout out to Josh Nichols at Stocks with Josh. I've gotten to go to his show twice in the last 2 weeks here. He's got a fantastic community. I've seen several comments of people saying they found us from Josh. I got to go on Paul Barron's channel last week, so shout out to Paul Barron. If any of those names I just said, if you're not following Caleb's not using YouTube at the moment. If you're not following him on Twitter, if you're not subscribed to his newsletter, you're missing out. Those links are down below. These links are not below, but go look up Stocks with Josh, especially if you're interested in getting into stock investing. Josh has some top-notch information for you guys. He's got a great community over there. And then Paul Barron, always dropping alpha on his channel in a very professional, well-thought-through format. Love going on Paul's show. I'm glad to be back there. Hadn't been on in a couple of months. But that's part of the reason why we're growing here quickly. I think, it was good. It was good timing, I will say, to here. People in the BROZ community know that I've been calling for some form of a pullback. I've been calling for alts to pull back 50% for a while now. I said Bitcoin could come back and wrestle with 60K, maybe 55, maybe 48. I've been saying that for a while, but I went on their shows Thursday and Friday right before the crash saying all of that. So it was very good timing. Very good timing. Indeed, but I love both of those communities as well. Thank you for everybody who's come over. We're gonna get to 15K here in the next little bit, and then 20K, and then 100K before you know it. Remember, if we get to 50K before end 2024, I will shave my head live on the show. So we'll Caleb. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna say
no.
And then if we get to people have asked, what about the beard, Tim? Tim, why don't we shave the beard? It's going to take a lot. And some people think this is a little too much, but I think it's a little too – I think I'm giving people a discount at saying I will shave my beard if we hit 100K before the end of 2024. Tall order, but again, sometimes I'm looking at the pace of our subscriber growth, and I'm thinking, I might have bit off more than I could chew with that one. So, yeah. Another super chat here from Matt. Caleb Franzen Wednesdays have made Hump Day even more special. What a way to put it. Do you like that association, Caleb, that you're our Hump Day guest? Does that feel good to you?
Listen, man, I'll take what I can get.
In these markets, especially right now, you got to take the dubs.
Beggars can't be choosers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, let's get to some questions here, especially because we only get them 1 day a week.
Yes.
Questions directed at Caleb will get top choice. Eric Wallen has a question for you. Now, you and Eric have a complicated relationship here, Caleb. Sometimes he's in love with you. Sometimes he hates you. I think this is a olive branch he's asking now. He says, Caleb, what stocks have you been buying lately?
Yeah, he gets a little snarky with me on Twitter sometimes.
He does. Yeah, you guys.
I've had the trigger over the block button a few. No, I'm kidding, Eric. I'm kidding. What have I been buying? I bought Palo Alto Networks for the first time last week. I think I bought more Blackstone last week or relatively recently as well. I bought BlackRock for the first time, actually, I think about 2 weeks ago. I want to buy more LVMUY, which is the Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy company.
Very nice.
Man, I bought quite a bit of stocks last week. I bought more Qualcomm. I definitely want to buy more Google. I want to buy more Amazon. So, my shopping list is still pretty big. But again, kind of the same thing that I mentioned at the top of the show, which is like, we've shifted into a little bit more of a defensive market. That doesn't mean I'm bearish. It just means I'm defensive. And so what I want to do during these periods is exercise a little bit more patience. So that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. That's good. It's good to hear that you're grazing on the U.S. equities too, that you're not completely leaving them alone to the side.
All the time. I'm buying stocks all the time.
Yeah, I love it.
Drew P is saying $100 giveaway. Yeah, I mean, we grew so fast. We'll have to do a $100 giveaway. Come back on the show tomorrow. We're going to do a $100 giveaway tomorrow, and who knows? We might be at 14K by the end of tomorrow. Maybe we do $200 giveaways. We will tell you guys tomorrow how you can enter to win $100. So good reminder there, Drew P. Yeah. Thank you for that. Username said, hey, Caleb. And then this is, I think I've seen him commenting stuff like this throughout the entire show. This is the excuse to talk about Link. Hey, Caleb, should I buy more Link?
I don't know what he should do because I don't know how much of a position he already has. I don't know what his portfolio looks like. I don't know what his debt looks like. I don't know what his family obligations look like. I don't know what his financial goals look like. I don't know what his income. I could go on and on. I can't tell him what to do. I think with altcoins right now, though, just kind of across the board, again, they've all pulled back very substantially. They're all down anywhere from 40 to 50%, some as much as almost 60%, literally just in the past 2 to 6 weeks. Some of them peaked in December, some of them peaked in January, some of them peaked in March. So I think right now is the time for the assets that you have conviction in. I'd be saying the same thing about stocks if the market was pulling back that much also, is this is the time to be a shopper, right? So if you have conviction, if you still believe in the fundamental story of the broader economy, of the stock market as well, and the fact that we are in an uptrend in a bull market, I think this is definitely the time to still be increasing exposure. And again, exercising a degree of patience in those increases. I think for me and my trading style right now and my investing style, again, I'm being very selective about taking positions that have very tight stops. But again, like I've been buying Bitcoin, I think every single day since Saturday night. And so,
Nice.
and again, I've been a little bit more selective with buying ETH, right? So even for me, I really want to prioritize the Bitcoin in the portfolio. And yes, 100%. The Bitcoin that I've been buying throughout the week is in a negative position. Like that's okay, right? You have to exercise a degree of patience, be willing to stomach some of the short-term volatility. And for me, all I know is I want to buy more Bitcoin. So that's what I'm doing. So if for you, Chainlink is that thing, that's your conviction. I have my conviction in Bitcoin. That's what I'm doing.
I love it. Well, you may be watching and listening, you're getting lulled to sleep. You're feeling better because you were feeling really bearish, really scared. You clicked on the video, you're feeling a lot better. But I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna ask a crazy question here to the both of you that was asked earlier. Valine Alexandrov said, so when do we sell? Is there a level that you all would part with your Bitcoin at this point?
What are you thinking, Caleb? I'll let you start that one off.
Look, I mean, my cycle target is still at 175. I think maybe I'd be willing to reconsider that a little bit, right? One of the things that I've said is that's the baseline expectation is that we would get to at least 175. So could we go higher than that? Yes, absolutely. You guys mentioned the MBR-VZ score. The math on that gets a little bit complicated, but historically it's shown us a pretty good blueprint of solid profit taking levels. I know something like the Pi cycle indicator has done a really good job before. And then even using something like the short-term holder realized price. So, I mean, right now that short-term holder realized price is trading at 59,000. In the last bull market, for example, the short-term holder realized price, I think, was at like 53,000 when we crossed below it. And so when we crossed below that short-term holder realized price at the end of 2021, going into 2022, that was a sign that we were moving back into a bearish market environment. And so, that's why I'm super keen to see if we get down to 59K, how do we react when we get there? Because if you think I sound bearish now, I'm not, I'm defensive. I will sound much more bearish if we fall below that short-term holder realized price. And I'll say, if we get there, if we get back if we get back above the short-term holder realized price, I'm going to sound a lot more bullish, right? I'm going to use this as a dynamic level, right? The same way I'm going to use the 200-day moving average cloud, the same way I'm going to use these different dynamic moving indicators. And so for me, the short-term holder realized price is going to be another major one. Look, for me, I don't really plan on selling much Bitcoin at all because every time I've sold it in the past, I never buy as much back as I did when I had sold.
It's a good one. That I would echo that. The only regrets I've had so far in investing is selling Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's true. My answer for when to sell, there's things that factor in. There's time, there's price, there's market sentiment, macro market sentiment, not just short term like, today I don't feel good, let's sell. There's also a concept, T-Shim just said it, like the things that you regret is selling the Bitcoin. The things you don't regret necessarily is taking profit on the altcoins. I told you guys this before, and I don't have my perfect scenario just yet. I haven't decided what I'd use. There's a lot of things out there that if you go this route could get you in trouble. But I'm really heavily considering the concept of pulling a Michael Saylor and getting to a place where I just turn all of my altcoin profits into Bitcoin and then I lend against it. I want to get involved in real estate. I'm an entrepreneur. I would love, if I'm looking 10 years into my future, I would love to not just be Tim Warren, the crypto investor. I will still be investing in crypto, but Tim Warren, the real estate guru, Tim Warren, the entrepreneur who owns several different businesses. Well, one of the ways you can do that is you don't have to just take profit of your Bitcoin that might have some bear markets, but still long term is just going to go up and to the right. Hold that Bitcoin firm and then borrow against it, pulling, like I said, Michael Saylor. I want to find the right places to do that. I want to make sure I do it all correctly. But that's kind of where I'm getting to. And that in that situation, if I find my right answer, the answer is never. I'm never going to sell my Bitcoin. I'm going to continue to stack sats. And, if I can get to a place where I own, I'm going to age myself a little bit, guys. I don't own 10 Bitcoin. If I can get to a place where I own 10 Bitcoin, I will be very wealthy in the future. And if I just borrow against that and run businesses, I can run a lot of business off of 10 Bitcoin. So that's kind of my goal, is to get to a place in the future where I at least have 10 Bitcoin and it just sits there and I borrow against it and make wise business moves. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Well, we've got one more question I think is worth asking Caleb real here as we wrap up. And that is, what is your, Crux asked, I'm grabbing Tesla next year. What is your entry level for Tesla? Do you think that there's a good level to the downside, or have you what is your relationship with Tesla right now? I don't know if you hold it or what's going on, but certainly I'm looking to get back in. I just don't know when.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Again, it's like the stock has performed like shit, especially on a relative basis versus the other FANG stocks.
Yep.
So I think the name of the game with that is just time-based investment, because again, if any asset is in a bear market or in a downtrend, inherently that means it's not rebounding on potential support levels. It means it's breaking below potential support levels. So within a downtrend, almost the last thing you want to be doing is buying support levels, because by very nature, the downtrend is going to break that support, right? So for me, the way I view it is, if an asset is in a downtrend that I like, I try to identify statistical accumulation periods. And then from there, I just buy on a frequent and recurring basis. So I don't know what that is for Tesla off the top of my head, but I would say my advice to Crux of Crypto, I think if that was who asked it, is don't look at it from a price level standpoint. Look at it from a time-based standpoint.
Absolutely. And I was the one that kind of wove that question in there, but I love it.
I just did charts on this yesterday with Josh, and this isn't going to be perfect, but I go to my chart here real quick. Lower highs and lower lows has marked Tesla for a while now, but take a look at what we've headed back down to here more recently. A big gap, a price gap coming back in January of 2023, brings us down here to around 145. Again, we turn on Lux Algo, our trading tool here. If you want to get serious about trading, you need to get this tool linked down below. You also get into our trading group if you show us your receipt. Look, we have the green wave of support and take profit kind of matching up with this. This is on the daily chart. You come down here to the weekly chart, you'd have to get a little bit closer towards 120 to hit the green and get the lower end, but we have a fat order block and again that gap on here. So I think Caleb's right. You're not necessarily looking. I think it's hard to pinpoint the exact price, but I think a potential starting into DCAing back into Tesla is looking very good. Unless you think Tesla's dying as a company. If you think Tesla's dying as a company and has no future, don't buy it. But if you believe in Tesla long term and you like it, we're seeing a lot of things on the chart say that Tesla's at a good DCA opportunity even right now, but it could get a little bit sweeter over the next couple of weeks and months.
Yep. And
I would say really quick, for me, I would much rather be prioritizing, and I am prioritizing Google and Amazon. So those are stock, and I would throw Microsoft in that bundle.
Fair.
Both Apple and Tesla, their stocks just haven't performed so far year to date, and with Tesla even longer, because there are actual fundamental issues that are taking place in those stocks. So over time, these companies have amazing management teams and have exhibited an ability to get past those short-term headwinds and right the ship. But for me, I would much rather associate my portfolio with companies and stocks that continue to deliver, beat expectations, and be on a strong path going forward. And right now, those are companies like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. And, throw Meta in there, throw Netflix in there. Those are looking great. But for me personally, I'm prioritizing Amazon and Google.
Yep. A home run play for me would be for Tesla to be at the same levels or lower that they are now this time next year when I'm starting to sell out of crypto. That would be ideal because I do believe in Tesla long term. I don't like betting against Elon, but everything you just said is true, Caleb, and it's not a right now play. I think these levels do look attractive, right? If you're looking for value, if you're looking for very underbought tech companies, EV makers, I think that Tesla is starting to look like a more of a buy than a sell at these levels. But I'm in crypto, right? Crypto has my focus, and for the record, the only non-Bitcoin stock that I own. Well, actually, that's not true. I have trace amounts of BAH, the defense company. Very, very small position in that, like less than $100.
Is that Booz Hamilton?
It is Booz Hamilton. Yeah.
No way, bro.
Yeah, I got a little bit of that. That chart is just insane. But Microsoft is the main. I just can't see a reason to part with it. But I got it very, very low, like $140 or something like that, down at the pandemic low. So it's almost like an NFT to me at this point. I just I got such a good deal on it. I don't think I can let it go.
Are you still in RSG, by the way?
I'm not. No. I
sold out too soon. No, I'm kidding.
No, but that might be, those names might be a good move if recession talks are back on the horizon by the end of the bull market for crypto. Like names like that, the waste collection companies, they might be good to rotate into for strength throughout a recession. But in terms of like a long-term portfolio, they absolutely have a place, and they've outperformed. No matter how strong AI gets, people are still going to need to throw away garbage, right?
Exactly.
Maybe. You never know. Maybe people eat garbage in the future. That's all we have time for today. Thank you again to Caleb Franzen for joining us on these Caleb Franzen Wednesdays, or as Matt C calls them, Caleb Franzen Hump Days. We'll see if that catches on. Love every single one of you guys. Thank you for being here. If you have not done it already, smash the like, hit subscribe. Don't miss a single piece of content we put out as we seek every single day to educate you guys on what the charts are saying, what the news is saying, so that you can make the most informed decision about your finances for yourself. That's what crypto is all about. With that said, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place. Adi.
Os.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.
Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros.